Welcome back, everyone, to the 21st edition of the Quick Bricks NBA DFS podcast, brought to you by the good guys over at the Sports to Gens. As always, I'm Sean. I'll be the host again. Hope you guys are enjoying your Friday. We have finally reached another Friday. We have another 10-game slate, second 10-game slate of the week. Yesterday we had a little short, measly 3-game slate. I was not very enthused. I did not cash last night. I only ran 2 lineups, so last night was just a night that whatever. Gonna move on. Tonight, this slate is just a hair bit better. Obviously, we have a lot more games to choose from, and I'm just a bigger fan of bigger slates. I think it's a little bit more fun. You have a lot more player pool to choose from. The research process is just a little bit more fun for me. I don't really enjoy researching, 3 games where you got 6 teams and it's just not as fun. So, with all that being said, let's jump right in. We got 10 games, a lot of stuff to talk about. So let's talk about Philadelphia at Detroit. Philadelphia coming in here as a 2.5-point road favorite, 219 on the total. As we all know, Embiid loves playing against Drummond. I don't think it's as much vice versa. I don't think Drummond exactly loves playing against Embiid. But Embiid usually tends to have pretty good success against him. He's talked a lot of trash in that essence, and Embiid has not played well lately. I would really rather have this at Philadelphia, where Embiid usually plays just a lot better. But it's at Detroit. But I still think Embiid at 10.1 is fine. We know that he's had good games. We know Detroit allows some good games to really good centers. Embiid is one of those. So, we'll be looking at Embiid at 10-1. Jimmy Butler at 7.4. He just put up a 58-point fantasy point game against Toronto. I like Jimmy again here. He's 7.4. I still don't see why he's closer to Ben Simmons' price, but I guess I get it. But Butler at 7.4 I think is fair. If you want to look at a cheapie, I think Muscala again at 3.8. 2 of his last 4 have gone for 20 plus. Or actually, his last 4 games have gone for 20 or more fantasy points. So at 3.8, he's exceeding his value. So Muscala, I'm fine with. If you want to look at JJ Redick, I'm fine with that. He kind of came alive in their last game as well. He's still kind of the after part of this whole team now that Jimmy's there. So, but he still has that upside to go for 25, 30 fantasy points, except for the fact that he doesn't really do more than just shoot. So, but he does have his value from 3-pointers, which he does shoot quite often. So if you want to go there, I'm fine with that. For Detroit, Blake Griffin at 9.4. I think I will be looking at Drummond again at 8.6. He just had a major letdown game, and now he's back at home where we've already done the numbers on that in the SC Slack chat. A couple guys have posted how he averages definitely a substantial enough amount more fantasy points at home than he does on the road. So Drummond at 8.6, I'm fine with it. I know that he's been talked trash to by Embiid, and hey, this is just a little bit of a revenge. So go ahead and get some Drummond in there at 8.6. He's cheap still. I mean, he was 8 last game, and he had a total dud. I was on him, of course, and so look for the bounce back here. Reggie Jackson at 5.3. Totally fine with Reggie Jackson at 5.3 at home here. This game should stay competitive, hopefully. Philadelphia has not been playing very good lately. Don't get me wrong, they stood toe-to-toe with Toronto last game, but Toronto was damn good this year, and they still lost by, 11 or 12? Either way, at Detroit's been playing well. I really like Blake Griffin at 9.4. Reggie Jackson at 5.3, I think it's just too cheap here. And Drummond at 8.6. I'm back on Drummond again tonight. I don't know if I'll be as heavy as I was the other night, but I'll have a little bit. So that's kind of where I'm at in Philadelphia, Detroit. Let's move right along to Indy and going to Orlando to play those Magic. -2 here for the Magic at home. 206 on the total. Lowest total on the board, which is weird. And I don't really like a whole ton in this game. I think Miles Turner at 6.4 is just, fair priced. He is kind of where he stays at, but, he's had 42 or more in his last 3 or 4. He had a really nice game last game. Sabonis is, I don't know what's the deal with Sabonis. He's just not himself right now, and we've all seen that. He's had his injuries, his back problems, and he's just not really playing at a high level anymore, or not right now at least. So Turner at 6.4, Bojan, however you say that. I don't know. It's not Bogdan, it's Bojan. Yeah, whatever the fuck it is. Anyway, at 5.4, we've done the numbers as well on him. He kind of cooled off there a little bit, with Oladipo out. He actually sees a pretty good boost in the differential of usage and in usage alone. So plus the additional fantasy points that he gets is pretty good. So I will be looking at him at 5.4. I think it's a decent spot for him. Other than that, I think Collison's just a little too high priced now. He was, 4.5 and 4.9 here just like 3 or 4 games ago, and then he had a monster game, and his price is now like $6K. So I don't think I'll be paying for him. I don't think that I'll be paying for Evans. Evans just hasn't played. He's been playing the 2 guard, and it's just not his spot. He's a point guard. So it's just not real good for him. Corey Joseph, I think, is a fine punt if you want to go there. He's respectively always cheap, and he plays good minutes. And if he can get in there against Jerry and Grant in the second unit of the Magic, I think he can make something happen. I think he can he'll be fine. Other than that, that's kind of what I'm looking at for Indianapolis. But for Orlando, I think Fournier again at 5.5. Put up 46 fantasy points last game. I put a lot of stock into Fournier last game, and he produced. Fournier is just a way better player at home. It shows. If you look at his data, he's, like I said, he's averaging almost 3 more real points a game at home than he does on the road. He also is only seeing about 21% of usage on the road compared to about 25.7 at home. So Fournier at 5.5, he's still cheap enough to play, especially cheap enough to play at home. Whenever they had that long road stint, he was scoring, putting up 30-plus fantasy points a night. His price was over $6K. So 5.5, definitely think there's value on Fournier there. Terrence Ross at $5K. He's 26 or more fantasy points in his last 6 games. He's been producing very well. He's one of their most productive guys off the bench. He's going to shoot threes. Terrence Ross at 5K, I'm fine with. Aaron Gordon at 7.1, I think is good. I don't think I'm going to play Voost. I was kind of looking at his game logs and, kind of looking at how he did off of back-to-backs. And, he had a 50-plus fantasy point game last game. I was on that little mini Orlando stack that really did well with him, Gordon, and Fournier. But I was kind of looking at it, and it didn't seem like he produces near as much that third game after a back-to-back set. So, and it was really like in the 40s, like 40, 43, 44 fantasy points was like his top one out of the last couple of instances. So it's not a good matchup. Low total. I think I'm going to go elsewhere other than playing Voost tonight. So that's kind of where I'm at in this game. Turner, Bojan, Fournier, Ross, and Gordon. That's kind of what I'm looking at for this game. Like I said, real low total. Should be a closer game, but it just looks like a slow tempo. So moving along, Denver at Charlotte. This game has some potential. Obviously, we know that Gary Harris is still out. If you were looking the other day, I posted some pretty good stuff about Jokic. Jokic at 9.3, I think is very fine here. Zeller's good, but he's he's just a try hard, and he's nothing fancy. He's like a Plumlee. He's just there and plays ball. So Jokic at 9.3, I'm fine with. His usage goes up dramatically without Gary Harris on the floor. So yeah, I'll definitely be playing some Jokic. Jamal Murray at 7.1, I think he's seen a nice little boost as well. 39.3, 50.5 in his last 2. He's taking more shots, getting more looks. Paul Millsap at 6.4, he's put up 31, 21, 49.5, 43.8 in his last 4 on the road, or maybe on the road. That's right. So Millsap's been playing very well as well. My free square from the other night was Malik Beasley. He's 3.5K, and he played 31 minutes. He did not produce. But if you're going to play 31 minutes, you're going to get opportunities. In the fantasy world, that's what we're looking for. You can't really do much if the guy doesn't do much in 31 minutes of court time. That's kind of on him. It's still a great play, especially at 3.5, 3.3, whatever he was last game, but he's 3.5K tonight. if you want to play that, I'm fine. It's kind of a free square. So that's kind of what I'm looking at for Denver. I don't think I'm going to be on Wancho. I don't think I'll be playing no Torrey Craig. That's kind of where I'm looking. Jokic, Murray, Millsap, and Beasley if you want to go cheap at 3.5. For Charlotte, Kimba at 8K. He's back home. He has not been playing very well. This is probably not the best matchup for him, but at 8K, you're getting a pretty decent buy low on one of the highest usage players in the league. He's due for one of those games, and I could really see it being tonight. So if you want to play Kimba at 8K, I'm totally A-OK with that. Jeremy Lamb at 6.1, he's been playing very well since Kimba has not been. So Jeremy Lamb at 6.1 is definitely worth a look. Kaminsky at 3.7, played 22 minutes in his last game. He was my deep punt last game for Charlotte. And I was kind of weary because I didn't know if he was going to play a lot. Bridges did not get the start. It was MKG. Bridges didn't really even play hardly. MKG put up 20, I think, fantasy points, and then Kaminsky got a pretty decent run. So Kaminsky at 3.7, I think they're going to need his size against this Denver team. So Kaminsky, again, I will be looking at. Zeller at 4.0. I mean, 4K is fair, 25-plus in his last 2 or 3 games. If you looked, who was it? Yeah, I mean, Vucevic just put up 55. I know I can't really compare Vucevic to Zeller here. But at 4K, I think Zeller can exceed that price point if you need salary relief at center. 4K is very cheap for a starting center that's going to play 30 minutes. So that's kind of what I'm looking at in Denver at Charlotte. Move right along to Sacramento at Cleveland. Sacramento comes in here as a road favorite of 2.5. 221 on this board. That's a pretty good total, especially for tonight. That doesn't have a ton of high totals. So what I'm going to be looking at here in this game for Cleveland is Tristan Thompson. I think is a fantastic play once again. 7.3. His price really hadn't gone up. He's put up 44 or more in his last 3 games. Been playing very well, and I don't really see anybody on this Sacramento team that's going to be able to really stop him. Willie Cauley-Stein is good and all, but TT's been playing at a real high level lately. So I think if you're looking at a good center, you want to play a decently mid-price center, I think TT's your guy. Clarkson, 5.2, Sexton, 4.9, Larry Nance Jr. at 4.9. Larry Nance put up 27.5, 25 in his last 2. Hadn't been playing real substantial minutes, but he's been getting decent run. This kind of game kind of sets up for him, I believe. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. I like Clarkson at 5.2 quite a bit. Sexton is still the guy. I mean, he's still starting at the point guard spot. Clarkson's backing him up, but Clarkson has been the more effective one here lately. But Sexton is cheaper. Sexton is 300 less, and he's the starter. So De'Aaron Fox has been playing a little bit better defense this year, but he's still not a lockdown defender. So Sexton at 4.9 I think is definitely worth looking at under 5K for a starting point guard. So that's kind of what I'm looking at for Cleveland. For the Sacramento side, Buddy Hield at 6.2. He's definitely top 30 fantasy points in his last 4 or 5 road games. His price is kind of dependent, and it's kind of tough to fit him in, especially on a big slate like this at 6.2. Kind of a preference call, but Buddy's definitely there if you want him. Bogdan, not Bojan or Bogdan, whatever the fuck his name is. This guy's Bogdan, okay? So we got Bogdan for the Kings at 6K. We're going to be looking at him definitely tonight. He's been playing very well lately as well. I do not believe that I will be on Fox. I got a feeling that they might throw George Hill on him, or I don't know. George Hill might stick on Buddy. George Hill's not as good of a defender as he once was, but he's still pretty decent. So with that said, I'm probably not going to be playing Fox at 7.3, I think, or 7.7. He's just not been playing very well lately. He's kind of hit a little bit of a wall after he had a really ridiculous start. And a cheapie, if you want to look at, and I think they could deploy a little bit more tonight, he might play 20-plus minutes, is Kufos. God damn. That fucking sloth-looking motherfucker, Kufos, at 3K. 19 minutes last game, 18.3 fantasy points. They're going to have somebody to match up with TT down low. I think if Willie Cauley-Stein gets in foul trouble, or which I could see. Because TT owns the boards, so I think he could get down there and get Willie Cauley-Stein in foul trouble. He has been known to get in foul trouble fairly easily. Kufos could get more run at 3K. I don't hate it. It's definitely worth the GPP dart tournaments. If you want to play them in tournaments, I'm definitely fine with that. That's kind of what I'm looking at in Sacramento and Cleveland. Let's move right along to Toronto at Brooklyn. Toronto comes in as a 10-point road favorite, 221 on this total. Paul George just totally massacred Brooklyn last game. He had, 44 real points, 24 in the fourth, hit the game winner, put up 70 fantasy points. So if you're into that sort of thing with Kawhi, if you want to pay 9.7, 9.7, 55 plus in his last 3 or 4, but we're playing Brooklyn here. It worries me. I'll put it that way. Toronto is very good. OKC, nuts. I mean, they're good, but they're not that good. So I really think with this big of a spread, it's a decent total, but I don't see Brooklyn keeping up all game. Toronto is very good defensively. So Kawhi, if you want, it's up to you. Lowry at 7.8, fantastic play. Russ put up a pretty monster triple-double, had 70 fantasy points himself. Brooklyn was giving up the second most fantasy points to point guards. So Kyle Lowry at 7.8, it's cheap. Man, he's cheap. Siakam at 6K, sure, if you want to play that, I like it. I probably will be going back to DAR at 6.9. 2 games ago, Toronto was giving up the most fantasy points to point guards. So DAR, I think, could have a bounce back. He's been in the 7K range, mid K7s, and now he's 6.9K. He just had a dud and didn't play very well last game, and they lowered his price on $800. Okay, so if you want to put that into some context, his last 4 at home have gone 54.5, 45.8, 36, and 62.5. I will take that value all day. I have been playing DAR a lot. I played him last game, and I'm gonna play him tonight. So that's kind of where I'm at. Jared Allen, 5.5, put up 32 against OKC last game. Hopefully he's kind of finding a stride. We know that Toronto has not been that great against the center spot, although they do and they don't. They really shut down Embiid last game. They did. They shut him down. So. But I think that maybe they might lighten up a bit this game. Last game was a big division, rivalry there with playoff implications between Toronto and Philly. So I think maybe they might slip up a little bit and play this game a little bit easier. I think the Nets probably have some decent value if they can stay in the game. That's the problem. I hope that Toronto doesn't get up, 20 points by half and then coast. So Jared Allen at 5.5, very cheap center. Joe Harris at 4.3 came in, played 34 minutes last game in his return, and put up 34.3 fantasy points. That's kind of where I'm looking at Toronto and Brooklyn. Not a whole lot that I like other than those few guys. Memphis at the Pelicans. Pelicans only come in as a 4.5 point home favorite here. 217 on the total. Memphis has been playing well lately. This is going to be probably the Pelicans' toughest match yet here, as far as here recently. It should be a pace-up game for Memphis. We kind of know that Memphis likes playing that grindhouse defense, and that doesn't really fit the Pelicans' style. The Pelicans like to get up and run, especially with, it looks like Julius Randle might be sticking in the starting rotation. They said Gentry didn't know if he was going to bring Nico's back. He's set to go tonight, but Randle looks to be he might be starting again. So, for one, you cannot afford to sit Randle at 7.4. Drew Holiday at 8.5. I'm a fan. I'm really a fan of. I'm fine with AD at 11K if you want to pay up for him and be different elsewhere. That's fine. This game should have tempo. I don't know how much, but it should. Pelicans are one of the top 5 in pace. So, for the Memphis side, JJJ at 6.1, I'm fine with. JaMychal Green continues to be a solid, asset off the bench for them. He's 4.5K. His price hasn't went up at all. He put up 39 fantasy points last game. He was one of my favorite values last game. He is one of my favorite values again tonight in this pace-up game. This game fits him well. 4.5K, JaMychal Green, get him in. Gasol at 8.1, just put up a dud last game. Everybody was pissed. This game is good for him. 8.1K, in his last 4 or 5 road games, 21, 48, 59, 53, and 41. 3 of the 5 exceeded his value quite well. If you want to play Gasol, I'm totally fine with it. Conley, I think, is fine. I don't really know as much on the road. He's usually really great at home. This game should have pace. If you want to play Conley, I'm fine with it. I like Conley. I just don't think he's one of my favorite GPP plays. Obviously, Cash. If you're into that sort of thing, I think he's fine. His minutes are fine. He's going to get it matched up by Frazier, but I'm afraid that he might get Drew, and that's the problem. I think he's going to get Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday's locked down some really good point guards. That's my problem. So I probably won't be playing much Conley. So that's kind of where I'm looking at. And Memphis at the Pelicans. Let's move along. OKC at Chicago. OKC comes in as a 9-point road favorite. Chicago with the total of 215 here. Steven Adams at 7K. Game fits in very well. We know Chicago is not very good against the center spot. I do not mind a Russ and Adams combo here. It should be very well. It should do very well. Russ is 11.4. He's very, very expensive on the road where his usage tends to goes down. Paul George just had a monster game. I'm not really sure how he'll respond. That's kind of where I'm looking. Noel at 3.5K I think is fine. I think if this game gets out of hand a little bit, he should get maybe a little bit of extended run. He's already been putting up really good numbers in limited fashion so far. So Noel at 3.5 is definitely a tournament dart. For Chicago, one of my probably more favorite plays is Justin Holiday at 5.7. I don't really like the price. I wish it was more like 5K. But he's still going to get the minutes. With Mark Hakenin coming back, Jabari shifting to the bench. That killed Jabari's fantasy value. Mark Hakenin is going to probably be paired up with Jeremy Adams. Or what is his name? Jeremy. What is his name? Jesus Christ, I can't think of that predator-looking motherfucker. Well, they're power forward, Jeremy. Whatever his name is. Anyway, so I'm not really a huge fan of Mark Hakenin, but it's not a bad spot. I mean, not a bad spot at all. But Justin Holiday, Zach LaVine at 8.2, even Wendell Carter Jr. at 5.2. Like I said, we just had Jared Allen put up 32 fantasy points against OKC team. So Wendell Carter Jr. at 5.2, I think is not a bad look. Definitely worth a GPP look. But that's kind of where I'm looking. I don't really like a whole lot in this game. I think Chicago's not very good. Mark Hakenin coming back is a big boost for them. And could definitely keep them competitive. So this game might actually be a little bit more appealing than I'm looking at it at face value. And I want to look into it a little bit more, and I'll definitely be talking about it more in the Slack chat. I want to look at some more things. This was just first glance. So that's kind of where I'm at right now, but I want to look at that one more. I'm going to move along to Lakers and San Antonio rematch here. They just played in L.A., last night or the night before? Night before, yeah. And now they're playing in San Antonio tonight. LBJ put up 62. He's 10.8. Lonzo had a nice game at 5.7. He put up 38. KCP is 3.9. He played 28 minutes, put up 24 fantasy points. Kuzma is 6.8. He put up 40. Brandon Ingram is out. I don't know what happened. I think he got injured. San Antonio, DDR put up a pretty decent game, 49 fantasy points. LMA had a pretty subpar game with 36 fantasy points, but he's only 7.6 tonight. Rudy Gay had a really nice game at 5.9. He put up 46. I don't see this game being as fast-paced back at San Antonio in front of their home crowd. San Antonio's a 1-point favorite here with a 226 on the total, pretty decent total. It does have a lot of good parts in this game. Once again, I mean, the total is up there. San Antonio has not been playing good defense. They barely lost the other night. This is kind of a revenge game back at home, so I don't mind a small little San Antonio stack there. I think it's contrarian. I don't think a whole lot of people will be on it. It's kind of like the Magic the other night where, they've been sucking, they've been getting beat a lot. A lot of people aren't looking at them. The Spurs are definitely worth that look tonight. Going back to them, I think, is fine. So that's kind of what I'm looking at in that game. Miami at Phoenix. Phoenix on a back-to-back where they just are dog poo right now. No Booker, no T.J. Warren. DeAndre Ayton was even benched for the first 3 or 4 minutes of the game. I don't know what the hell is going on over in Phoenix. I'm not a fan of this game. I'm not really a fan at all. Phoenix is not good. But if you have to play it, no Whiteside, so obviously Bam chalk at 4.2. I mean, I don't see how you can afford to not play Bam the night at 4.2 going against, Phoenix, who's been giving up like the second most fantasy points to centers over the last 5-6 games. Obviously, Bam. We're going to be looking at Bam. We're going to be looking at Kelly Olynyk at 4.0, who's put up 29.8, 32.5, and 28.5 in his last 3. Kelly Olynyk is definitely worth a look. I think Justice Winslow at 4.3 is played 32 minutes his last 2 games, put up over 20 fantasy points. I like the cheapies for Miami here. I'm not just a huge fan of their starters, except for one. And I'm not real sure he'd probably be on a minutes limit, even if he did come back, and that's Dragic. This is a narrative game for him. We know he played for the Suns forever. He has practiced the last 2 games. He has a chance to play tonight. That's up to you. I don't know. I have to see kind of how many minutes he's going to play. For Phoenix, Josh Jackson is going to be the guy at 5.5. He continues to be the guy with these other guys out. T.J. Warren is questionable. He might play. I don't know. I had to make sure. If T.J. Warren comes back, absolutely get on T.J. Warren. DeAnthony Melton at 4.2, played 26 minutes last night, put up 22.8 fantasy points, put up 34 the game before. He's playing better than Okobo. Even though Okobo put up 22 or 23 fantasy points last night, they're basically playing a split. Crawford at 3.7 is fine. He's still playing over 20 minutes a game. Like I said, check on TJ. Dragenbender at 3.0. He played 25 minutes last night. His usage was not there. He didn't really do much, but he played 25 minutes. It's worth noting. It's worth looking at. They're hurting if T.J. Warren is out again. Notice I did not say Rashawn Holmes. I don't know. He burnt me last night, and I wasn't very happy about it. I went and swapped off a few people to get him in, and once I saw he was starting, that usually always burns me, and I hate when I do that. And that's the one bad thing and downside about having late swap. But it is what it is. So that's kind of what I'm looking at in Miami at Phoenix. Golden State, Milwaukee. Here's your golden game. Here, the Golden Gate Bridge right here. 240 on the total. Milwaukee is -1. You're going to have to stack this game up as much as you can. Get as much exposure as you can. Giannis at 11.1. Bledsoe at 7.2. Malcolm Brogdon at 5.8. Brook Lopez at 4.8. All in play for Milwaukee. KD at 10.3. Curry at 10K. Kevon Looney at 4.3, Jerebko at 4.2, and if you're doing that stack and you're playing this game heavy, Clay at 6.5, it's got the highest total on the board by far. They're expecting it to be a really close game. I like this spot a lot. I mean, you got both the 2 top, I don't know if Golden State's still in the top 10, I think, and especially now with Curry back, it's definitely going to be in the top 10. But both of these teams are in the top 10 in pace. Milwaukee was 4th the last time I looked, and Golden State without Curry was kind of slipping. But with Curry, they're going to be back in that top 10 for sure. So this is a game you want to stack. Obviously, it's going to be chalk. We know that. But, I think, like we said, the ownership should be a little bit of spread out more tonight. I don't know. I think we'll see. We'll kind of see, but I think that ownership will be spread out just a little bit more than we think on a 10-game slate. However, play that game. There's a lot of good parts in it. So that wraps up 21st edition of the Quick Bricks NBA DFS podcast for your Friday edition. Enjoy your Friday, folks.